Victor Wembanyama will take over the NBA, and the Spurs are going to return to being a powerhouse in the West. It is just unreal how good he was in his first year. Just take a look at these stats. Crazy, right? But what if I told you those weren't Wemby's first year numbers? They were Shaq's, who we perceive as one of the most dominant centers ever. Now, take a look at Wemby's columns this year. As you can see, Shaq had a couple more points and boards per game, but what stands out the most is the number of minutes per game. Having approximately 8 minutes less than Shaq, Wemby put up almost the same numbers, which really makes you think. That's almost an additional quarter every night, so his stat sheets would be even more insane than they are right now. Hello again, basketball fans, and welcome back to Hoop Vision. If you think comparing Wemby with Shaq is reaching, we understand where you're coming from. However, Shaq dominated mostly due to his size and strength. We know his weakness was shooting, which can't be said the same for Wemby. He almost makes 2 3-pointers per game on 5 attempts, and shoots 79% from the free throw line, compared to Shaq's 59. Wemby is 3 inches taller with an 8-foot wingspan. If that piece of data doesn't look insane to you, just look at this. He might now push people around and dunk them in the rim alongside with the ball like Shaq did, but Wemby is agile, quick, more versatile due to his shooting ability, and already a better passer. If he manages to avoid injury, he might be more productive in his later years than Shaq was. No one can block that Eiffel Tower 3-point shot, which he'll only improve as the years go by. If he perfects a signature move like a sky hook or something similar to Dirk's fadeaway, Wemby might be impossible to stop from scoring. Don't get us wrong, Shaq was a beast, and his legacy is undeniable. It's just that Wemby has already earned the right to be compared to him, at least when it comes to stats. Obviously, their playing styles are worlds apart, and Wemby still has a long way to go to fulfill his potential. However, the way he started his NBA career makes you wonder about the limits of his future self. And it's not like he's that unproductive first-year guy who we compare to former legends but are waiting for him to show up against the competition in real time. Wemby went toe-to-toe with current superstars as well. In January, he had 33-7 against Embiid and the 76ers while shooting 40% from 3. That game was Embiid's historic night with 70 points, but still, scoring 30+ on the process isn't something any player can do. The same month, Wemby gave us that crazy ending against the Bucks where he proved many people wrong about his strength. Just look at this sequence.
Look at this. This is around a guard in Lillard and a finish over a 7.
Talk about potential. Victor is a type of player we haven't seen before in this league. We've had some great big men, great shooters, great all-around players, but no one before was able to drive, shoot, and pass so smoothly while being 7'4". And it's not just scoring that makes him an offensive asset. There aren't many people who can guard him one-on-one. If any, you need double teams to slow him down. So if San Antonio acquires some snipers around him, it's good night NBA. Wemby is already averaging 3.9 assists per game, so that number is going to get only higher with roster improvements. We've all heard the rumors of Trae Young going to Texas this summer, but let's wait and see how things play out. If you remember the Lillard trade drama, you know nothing is guaranteed in this league until it's inked at the bottom line of a contract. However, he would benefit from playing with a pure point guard. Imagine all those drives where he'd just be fed the ball for easy baskets. From the opponent's point of view, who do you guard? Do you let Trae drive and hit a layup or a mid-range floater? If you let him cook, he'll exploit that hole and go for 40, unless you help and leave Wemby alone under the rim, which is also a bad idea. It seems the duo of Young Wembanyama will be a pick-your-poison type of offense. Helping on both of them would lead to open 3-point shots, which San Antonio has to get better at. They ended the season as one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the league, but that could change with a single trade. Devin Vassell is the only guy with a relatively big contract, so pretty much everyone else wouldn't be too hard to move in case some crazy opportunity presents itself. They have a guaranteed first-round pick from Atlanta and 3 more conditional first-rounders. Their salary cap situation is good at $38 million of free space, but they could even expand it by getting rid of some of the guys like Graham and Johnson. And speaking of trades, momentum plays a huge part. Right now, not many players want to come to San Antonio, but if they get Trae Young, it's a different story. We know Giannis always threatens to leave if the Bucks aren't winning, but he's not a possibility for the Spurs at the moment. Klay will either look at getting the most money as possible or reviving his career, so he might be interesting for them in the future. There's also a funny scenario we've read online that we must mention despite how impossible it is. The Spurs get this year's first-round picks, draft Bronny, LeBron joins them, and they win together like a happy little family. Unfortunately, LeBron is almost impossible to trade with next year's salary of $50 million. The only team having that kind of cap space are the Rockets, and no one in their right mind wants to play with Dillon Brooks, let alone LeBron. Wemby's summer is going to be interesting as he's watching his front office looking to bring him some help. Speaking of help, you know who's had plenty of it this year? Chet Holmgren. Having SGA makes playing so much easier. First, in terms of mental pressure, it's great to have a guy who can score from anywhere on the court. Second, he's so much better at driving and assisting than any guard on this Spurs roster. Imagine Wemby having SGA as a point guard. That would be crazy. At the beginning of the season, many were interested in seeing how Holmgren and Wemby's battle for the Rookie of the Year award would turn out, but now the season is over and there's no debate at all. Victor averages better numbers in every category, and it's fair to say he'd probably perform just as great as Chet if he was on that OKC team. The best thing about the Rookie of the Year award is it's not tainted by the team's seed position like the MVP is, so Wemby takes it clear this season without a doubt. Speaking of awards, there's a strong case for him winning the Defensive Player of the Year as well. Just for comparison, when Giannis won it in the 19 and 20 season, he averaged 1 steal and 1 block per game, which is less than Wemby's 1.2 steals and 3.6 blocks this year. If you say that Giannis averaged 13 rebounds that year compared to Wemby's 10, last year's Defensive Player of the Year, Jaren Jackson Jr. won the award with 6.8 rebounds and 3 blocks per game, still lower numbers than Wemby. The #1 favorite for this year is Rudy Gobert, who's averaging less steals and blocks and has a much better roster around him, which definitely helps when guarding the paint. Rudy is a beast, and we're not taking anything from an already 3 times Defensive Player of the Year. But if we're looking at this award from a purely individual point of view, no player has as much impact on the team's defense as Wemby. And historically speaking, this year could be the first year we witness a player win both Rookie of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year awards. Michael Jordan and David Robinson were the only ones who did it during the span of their careers, but doing it in the same season would be next level. Rudy probably wouldn't mind finishing second in votes since he's good friends with Wemby and has praised him in so many podcasts. They're both from France, so despite who gets it this year, the French have so much to be proud of. Everyone in the league has recognized how big of a unicorn Wemby is. Sorry, Kristaps, and it would be such a shame to deny him history when there's a solid case for him winning both awards. His impact on defense isn't just a matter of collecting blocks and rebounds. The way he reads screens and empty space is also a big aspect of his basketball IQ and shows how ahead he is compared to other 7-footers. When people counter, he is the way he is just because he's long. Here's what comes to mind. Luke Cornett is 7'6" and yet he can't do what Wemby does. Bol Bol is 7'2" and still can't do what Wemby does. You get the point. If length was the only thing that matters in a center, imagine how happy the Rockets fans would be seeing Bobby dominate in the paint night after night. Unfortunately, things don't work that way. If Wemby manages to go through some kind of transformation Giannis did over the years, the league will be in trouble. Wemby gives headaches to coaches already, so him hitting the gym could mean the beginning of new eras in terms of defensive schemes. If you remember, Shaq forced teams to sign big men just for fouls. Imagine how tough it'll be guarding the Eiffel Tower with muscles. And that's it for today, dear friends. We hope you've enjoyed this video. Let us know in the comments below what you think of Wemby's career so far, and what awards do you think he deserves this season. Thank you for watching and growing this channel. Make sure you don't miss out on more NBA stories by hitting that subscribe button. See you in the next one.